Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Arctic Pauper Show. I am your host, Arctic Ghost, and today I'm bringing you a black-red deck that I just got, second with, but I split the finals yesterday in Tiny Tim's Pauper Championships tournament. And what was first place? Same deck. I was not playing the exact same 75 as my opponent, but I was very, very close. And the person was pretty cool. So, there's that. But that is not the first time I have ever encountered this deck, actually. The first time I'd ever encountered this deck was, I believe I faced in the tournament practice room, Steve Jeltz, who was the first person, to my knowledge, to get a 5-0 with this deck. And got him twice, not in the same day, but you get the point. And then the deck just started popping up a few places. It wasn't really putting up huge results, but it was popping up. And in at least the Pauper Championship Series on Sundays, I don't know about Pauper Classic Tuesdays, but this deck has been popping up and it's been doing really well. So I decided to take it out for a spin, and well, I did really well myself. The only match that I lost was to the mirror, to the person who who I split with in the finals. That was the only person that I lost to, I believe. I know I only got one loss, but I believe that he was the person playing the black-red deck, because I know I lost to the black-red deck. Anyway, so mono-black control has kind of fallen by the wayside. While this deck has kind of been doing semi-well, because the red cards do help a tiny bit. It's not an overly powerful deck, but it's a pretty good deck. Though I will say that I did feel like I had to get a little lucky yesterday. The first round I faced off against Farfus here, who you guys might know as Farfstone, I believe is his Twitch name. You should go check him out, he's pretty cool. He was on white-green tokens, and game one I lost just because I think I'm like mulligan 5 or something and just got my butt handed to me. Then game two I drew 2 of my 3 electrickeries early and he couldn't come back. And then game 3, well, he got a spider silk armor, but I drew 2 electrickeries and was able to kind of nudge him into letting me destroy his whole board. And then I drew spells and he just drew lands. So there was that. I don't remember. I think I faced some kind of reanimator deck then, and then I lost to black-red, and then I played against Boggles, against Iso, who's a very good Boggles player, and I got really, really lucky. I drew both of my Chainer's Edicts in games 1 and 2, and in game 1 he drew 1 threat, and then in game 2 he mulliganed 5, and then only drew 1 threat. So, and that 1 threat was Wandering Wolf, so I could take care of that without Chainer's Edict. So, I then faced Teachings, and Teachings player mulliganed 4, and then game 2, I just ran them out of gas really quickly, and they just did not top deck well. And I don't remember the top 4 I faced against Delver, and I actually handled Delver fairly well. I lost game 1, but the games 2 and 3 went pretty good. So there's that. But I kind of felt like I had to get a little extra lucky to win, so I'm not really quite sure how I feel about this deck yet, with not only playing the Pauper Championship Series with this deck, but also playing it off camera in the tournament practice room. But either way, I think I've gone on too long, so let's just break this deck down piece by piece, and then we'll get into the test matches. So first up, for the creatures, you have 2 Phyrexian Rager. A lot of people play 3 and only 3 Alchemist. I personally think that this is kind of a black-red Alchemist control deck. So I like having 4, and Phyrexian Ranger is cool and all, but just cantripping and sometimes losing the life can be very, very harsh on your game plan. Then you have Chitting Rats, because setting your opponent back is always a nice thing, and Chitting Rats is just a great creature overall. Then you have Garming Angler, that's your big win con. It's really very easy to get him out very early. And then you have Beetleback Chief, because for 4 mana you get 4 power worth of 3 dudes. It's pretty good. This card actually does a lot better than you think, so I like it. I have been thinking about playing something like Liliana Spectre, But the fact of the matter is, getting 4 power for 4 mana instead of 3 mana for 2 power, and although it's flying and the opponent discards a card, I think I like the 4 power better. Moving on to the 1 mana spells, you have Firebolt, you have Flame Slash, and you have Lightning Bolt. I was playing with 2 Flame Slash yesterday, but took that out for a Terminate very quickly because the Flame Slash was good, but Terminate is just kind of better and kind of Spellstar Sprite proof if in the right position. Then, of course, you have Firebolt and Lightning Bolt. You don't max out on Firebolt because it's not that great, but it's really, really good, especially with Thermal Alchemist because of the flashback. And Lightning Bolt is Lightning Bolt. We're going to move on. You also have 1 Raven's Crime, because you can turn your excess lands into just target player discards card to keep them honest and empty-handed. And then we move on to the 2 drops. Oh, I never talked about Thermal Alchemist. Sorry. Thermal Alchemist is just great. you play a lot of burn. 2 Thermal Alchemist can usually just mean the death for somebody, and you can just keep cycling cards over and over. Plus, the retrace cards actually, I believe, count for Thermal Alchemist. It never came up, but I believe they do count. Because you're recasting the cards, so yeah. Thermal Alchemist is pretty damn good. Really damn good. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, you have Nice Whisper instead of Sign in Blood because it's easier to cast. I think if you could somehow work Sign in Blood, that might be better because you could actually target your opponent when they're at 2. But Nice Whisper does the right job. You also have 1 Read the Bones just as a 5th Nice Whisper, but since it's 3 mana, it's not as good, in my opinion. You then have 2 Chainer's Edicts because you can never have a black deck and not want Edict effects. You have access to that. Then you have Terminate because, again, if you have access to black and you have access to red, Terminate's just amazing. It's just strictly better than Doomblade in every sense of the word, I believe. So, then you have 1 Grim Harvest because, well, getting back Thermal Alchemist and Beetleblack Chief and Friction Ranger, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. And then 1 Magma Jet. I was not unhappy with Magma Jet at all. Magma Jet was really, really good every time I drew it, so I might put more into the deck, but I'm not really sure at this point. So, one thing before I go on you might notice is Grim Harvest and Raven's Crime, well, they don't really go well together. That's true. I think if you're on the Grim Harvest plan, the amount of lands you probably want out are like 6 or 7. And then after that, you can just Raven's Crime your opponent to holy hell. So, it's really just a matter of situation at the time. And then rounding out the deck is Blightning. A lot of people, I think, don't play Blightning. And then a lot of people do, so it's kind of 50-50. I love Blightning in this deck. 3 mana for 3 damage, making them discard 2 cards is really, really good. So, I have not been upset with Blightning. If I could somehow work a 4th in here, I would. But I think 3 is just fine for now. Wow, that guy just really not look happy. So that's the main deck. It's pretty stock, depending on whose list you look at. So, keep that in mind. There isn't really much innovation, except I have the Grim Harvest main deck where most people don't. I think. Moving on to the sideboard, it's pretty straight. This sideboard is very, very straightforward. You have Duress against Control, Pyroblast against blue decks, a 3rd Chainer's Edict against any Boggle type strategy, a Font of Return in an attrition matchup like Teachings or the Mirror, things like that. Electrickery for, well, you already know, Delver, token strategies, what have you. 2 Gorilla Shaman for affinity, and then 1 Siphon Life. Siphon Life is actually really good when you are against a deck like Delver or a deck like Stompy or something, where you are the over-control deck and you're on the Thermal Alchemist plan. Siphon Life is pretty insane. I wasn't playing with it yesterday, but I have played it a very few number of times. But every time I've played it, I was not disappointed. I didn't think that it would be very good. In fact, the card I had in this spot was Okiba Gang Shinobi, because I just expected a lot of different control decks. But the Okiba Gang Shinobi was never really very good. It was never really very good, so I went back to Siphon Life. So that's the deck. Not much else to say. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you for the test matches. Stay tuned.